imagine a blind mountaineer who is trying to aim for the peak. So what will he do? Of course, he'll just take a step and see if he's going up the hill or down the hill. Then he'll figure out. So I thought it's just take one step at a time. You're blind, you don't know how high the climb is, how difficult it is, how treacherous it is.
The obstacles in your path.
Yeah, you just know that you have to take one step, and that step has to be towards the peak.
Hey guys, welcome to Backstage with Millionaires. My name is Caleb Friesen. I'm the host of the show. If you've watched some of our videos in the past, you've probably seen me while we roll the credits at the end of the video. But today I'm going to be actually interviewing the entrepreneur that we have here in front of us, Altaf. Altaf has been building for the last 2 years or so a product called Snaptrude. And he discovered the need for this product while he was doing his engineering. And he was working an assignment. Probably he was thinking, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to do my PhD, and then I'm going to go on and become a researcher. But when he discovered this problem, it was too good to pass up. And so he decided to try his hand at entrepreneurship. And today, Snaptrude has been launched with a beta launch, and the company is backed by Accel, as well as Brigade, and a couple of other angel investors. So I'm going to let him take the floor and sort of share the journey of how he went from doing his engineering to eventually becoming an entrepreneur. Thank you for coming on the show, Altaf.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So you were doing your engineering, and how did this even happen? Because the plan for your life was do the engineering, get the PhD, become a researcher, and probably your parents were thinking this is a great strategy, but you decided to take a different path. So how did it happen?
So again, going back to the story of when I was in my engineering, so I was very fortunate enough to have been working on a project which was really large, India Digital Heritage. We were reconstructing a cultural heritage site known as Hampi, which is a very prominent site in Karnataka as well as this country, from ground up in 3D. And during that part, I was doing a lot of active research in most of the 3D part, and I discovered by talking to architects that 3D has always been a professional's task, modeling a 3D model. And I thought maybe there is a room for me to democratize it, and I started building a hobby project just to see if I could probably solve it as a curious person, I would say. And my path, as you said, was very set to becoming a researcher. I wanted to do a PhD, probably go abroad and then work on research problems. But then this trigger, after talking to people, after showing the crude prototype which I had built, people said there's something really interesting going on over there. And I thought maybe should I just probably give it a shot for probably a year or so and then see if it works out. And I was so glad that I actually did that.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was going to ask you, was this during this period of your life, you've discovered this problem that you think is worth solving. Okay, even backtracking a little bit more, most people are going to see it as, okay, this is a problem, and I hope someone else solves it because I've got a path that I'm going down in life, right? And I'm not diverging from that path because it's risky, it's uncomfortable, the status quo is to finish your engineering, go on and get maybe a master's, PhD, whatever, and become a researcher or join a corporate, company. Yeah. But you decided to do something else. Was that something that were you scared to do that? Was there anyone in your life that was encouraging you to do this, or were you just kind of like a lone wolf? Like you saw this problem and you were like, I can't resist it. Like I have to go after it. What was the thought process there?
So basically, I would still give you two reasons why. So at that point of time, one thing which really motivated me into stumbling into entrepreneurship was that I realized what after PhD? Like I had 3 opportunities which I could pursue. What after PhD would be my question, and the answer always came back that either I would end up being a researcher or I would start up. Why wait 5-6 years to start a startup? Like when you have a burning problem at hand. And another thing is, like if I don't build this solution right now, and who else would be? Actually, I was scared. The crude prototype in which stage it was, I never thought that I would be able to build what it is today. Like, am I even capable of doing it? Like looking back, of course, I was too naive at that point of time. But like even at that point of time, I never thought I would be able to pull it off. It was just an experiment with not anything but my life. So at this point of time, I needed to put together some resources to be able to do something with the problem which I was trying to solve. And I come from a very research background, and most of my time in my bachelor's was involved in doing research. I had a great amount of experience over there. I had published 10 papers, 10 international papers, I had co-authored a book chapter as well. And I was stumbling upon this area where it is more about being resourceful and being persistent, and which led me to go and talk to my professors who have been knowing me since quite some time. And they said, like, if you're trying to solve something, maybe it definitely makes sense because you're a smart person, you'll figure your way out. So yeah, here's some amount of money which will help you last for probably a few months, maybe a year or so.
Wow.
So
they just trusted you basically. They look at you as a person.
Yeah.
They're like, this product, maybe I don't understand it, right? They're professors. They're not like architects or you know, but they just thought he's smart. He's going to go places. I'm going to trust him with my money.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was like really good amount of trust which they had in me, and I'm so glad that they did. And again, like, you have some resources now, you try to put together a team. I hired a few friends whom I knew, and then built a very good group of interns who helped me out with building a product. Really concentrated on building a very great product, spent year and a half time. And it's very different to do something as a project on the research front and building a product. It requires a very different mindset, and you have to be, I was very naive, you have to be mature enough to understand it. And I'm very glad that I made all those mistakes very early in my career, like at a very young age. And I could learn how a project is so very different from building a product. So put in all the effort, built a product, year and a half down the line, spoke to
you're working on this on your own?
Yeah, I was just working on my own, like had a very small team, as I said, of interns.
Yeah.
And
but you didn't have any co-founders?
No, I did not have any co-founders. I had taken this step. I thought maybe I did not have anything to worry about at that point of time. I was just like, let me just do it. So how I treat entrepreneurship is like a blind mountaineer's problems. Like, imagine a blind mountaineer who is trying to aim for the peak. So what will he do? Of course, he'll just take a step and see if he's going up the hill or down the hill. Then he'll figure out. So I thought it's just take one step at a time. You're blind, you don't know how high the climb is, how difficult it is, how treacherous it is.
The obstacles in your path.
Yeah, you just know that you have to take one step, and that step has to be towards the peak. And that's how I treat it, and I still treat it that way. And I feel entrepreneurship is all about that. It's just about optimizing, taking that step on a weekly basis, just getting the feel whether you're moving up or down. If you know that, you'll reach the top. Being blind is actually an advantage rather than a disadvantage. You don't know how hard it is. So,
and if you did know how hard it was, you might not do it.
Exactly. And being relentlessly resourceful is one of the major things as a trait an entrepreneur should have, and if you're doing that. So at that point, as I said, I was being too naive. So it reminds me of that saying, like, the fool did not know that it was impossible, so he did it anyways. So that was the kind of approach which I was taking. And as I said, year and a half down the line, spoke to a bunch of real estate agents, brokers, homeowners, home builders. So what the product at that point of time was doing was helping you and me, people like us who are trying to move into a new apartment, or maybe talk to a builder or an agent, to visualize it in 3D before you actually move in. So what it did was it took a 2D sketch, 2D plan, floor plan is what we call it as, converts it into a 3D model, a detailed 3D model.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of look at those floor plans from a bird's eye perspective and actually visualize yourself in the space, right?
Yes.
So you were providing a solution for that, making a 3D.
Correct, exactly. And started talking to a lot of people, build the product. Very unfortunate to realize that it was like a solution, a tech solution, trying to look for a problem to solve now. Because people still wouldn't just judge their decisions on a 3D model. Like, you and I wouldn't move into a house, right? No. Just by looking. It's like you would want to visit because you're going to spend your valuable time even if you're renting it over there. So I very soon disheartened, realized that after speaking to a lot of people, it was not working out. Like, you're still persistent because you don't give up, right? You're at that stage because you've built it with all your sweat gone into that. Yeah. And I was not giving up. I was talking to a lot of people. Then year and a half, my funds had dried up, and I couldn't keep the people whom I had hired, nor could I keep the interns who were very happy to work.
You had to let people go?
Yeah, exactly. So then I was all alone, just a single person trying to be at it. So at that point of time, one thing which helped me was I was known in the community, tech community, that I was doing something very ambitious. So I got connected to a Fortune 100 company, a top company in a similar space, and they wanted me to help them out. And I worked as a consultant over the weekend and just helped them build what they were trying to build.
Oh, okay.
That was that helped me get some resources together.
Right, just to make ends meet.
And I'm so glad that also happened.
Were you able to bring your team back with with those funds, or was it not enough to?
It wasn't enough. I was just trying to survive, and my parents also had to help me get through most of the time till that actually happened. And as I was at it, I was trying to realize, like, people like you and me or a real estate agent broker wouldn't really care about 3D modeling. So the people who would actually care about it would be architects and interior designers who would do it on a daily basis. And very exactly at that point of time, I got connected to Brigade Group, which is one of the top developers of Bangalore or South India. And they were starting a real estate accelerator program to help companies in the real estate space, like how we were one of the companies. And they said we should definitely be part of a program. And then I thought, it's worthwhile to be able to go there and get some realization of what I'm doing. And it was a very struggling period, because year and a half down the line, I wanted to do a PhD. I had a good profile. I had opportunities. Now I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I see my friends who have gone down different roads, doing the masters or something, and like how their life has turned out. And I'm still.
Sounds like it was a really dark period for you.
It was a very dark period. And you always get this sort of like, maybe you're not cut out for it. Maybe just do you want to go back to what you were thinking about.
Those little voices of doubt. You know, exactly. And also people around you are probably questioning you as well. Like, he's a dreamer, but like, is he going to be crushed by those dreams?
Dreams don't pay.
Yeah, exactly.
So my parents were very supportive. They said, like, see what you like, what you're comfortable. If you still believe in what you're doing, happy to support you. Like, put in a year and a half again, and then see what it turns out to be.
Wow.
And I thought maybe this Brigade thing might be helpful. And I got into the accelerator program. One very good thing which they did was they connected me to all these architects and interior designers who are really top in this circle. And when I started talking to them, showed them the prototype or the product which I had built, they said, you're doing floor plan to 3D conversion, which would ideally help my interns save probably a day or two worth of effort. But like, can you help me in my thought process? Which is, I start sketching first. And that sketch becomes the floor plan, which becomes a 3D model. So can you help me with this entire process? So this is where I thought, interesting. So I have to help him out during the thought process itself. So I'm actually providing more value to him. And that's what I thought would be an ideal way to start. But I refrained myself from doing that, because I had learned well that if you have a tech solution which you have already built, and then you start going and showing it to people and trying to find problems and fitting it in, it's like a jigsaw puzzle which never fit in there. You're never going to build that market very well. And I realized that, no, I don't want to build something this time. I'm going to talk to as many people as possible before I set out to building.
Because you had just, at this point, you'd only talked to a couple of people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you wanted to actually do some proper research.
Correct. And when you go to people from that perspective, like, you go there and say, like, what are the problems which you have? People are really very fortunate, like very happy to share their problems with you, because they feel that you could solve at least one of them. But when you start talking to them, they give you a lot of incredibly tough problems to solve. And they said, like, can you take me from the sketch, which I draw on a piece of paper, to a 3D model from scratch? And of course, I had to take it, because I feel that there was merit in they asking for it. But again, with a pinch of salt, I wanted to talk to more people.
Yeah,
and
that sounds like a very difficult problem to solve.
Yeah, it's
taking a sketch.
Yeah.
Right, with someone's done by hand.
Correct.
Presumably not on like a tablet.
Correct.
It's like actually with pen and paper.
Correct.
Taking a photo or a scan.
Correct.
And you're trying to turn that into a 3D model. That sounds like, I mean, that would be difficult. To say the least.
Yeah, it was really difficult. But the way I thought of it was, again, like a blind mountaineer's problem. And I realized the problem does not stop there. So it's a much more complicated process which these people have, architects. So they have multiple design tools which do not talk to each other, and each of these tools are extremely complex in nature. And these tools have been there since decades. Like they're decade-old tools, and no significant innovation hasn't happened in the industry. So it's all right if these tools are broken if you're doing the process once. But design is a very iterative process. You make changes on a consistent basis, and it's very artistic. And you do changes hundreds or maybe thousands of times. Imagine working out of a broken workflow. Each tool is complex, and you have to do all of these things again and again because these tools don't understand how you think. So I thought it's better I take a step back rather than building a plugin like how I did earlier. It's better to build a solution from scratch and make use of the compute power of cloud and make sure that it's accessible on every device. And that is the approach which I thought would work, but validated by talking to a lot of people. And 3-4 months down the line, I had built a very good crude prototype, but like it worked.
With the help of Brigade, because you're still sitting out of their accelerator, right?
Definitely. And the fortunate thing which happened was I was supposed to present it to a group of architects and builders at one of the conferences, and the product was still just like, the prototype was still happening. And I was asked to actually do a live demo. And cutting down towards how the presentation was, I asked one person from the audience to volunteer to sketch it on a piece of paper. I took a photograph.
Wow.
And I'm so glad that it worked out. Like the 3D model was created out of just an imaginary thought which the audience had.
They took a piece of paper and a pen, and they drew a floor. This is an architect, right? Of course. They drew it. You took a picture with your phone and turned it into a 3D model.
Exactly.
How long does this take? Like an hour?
Seconds.
Yeah. Seconds in front of an audience, a live audience.
Yeah.
Wow.
And everybody was like amazed to see it. It was like a magician performance.
Did you get like a round of applause?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So those are the good little wins which you have amongst all the dark times which you've been through.
Yeah, of course.
And
you got to hold on to those.
It keeps you going.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
These are the moments which you enjoy, the wins. And then post that, since this turned out so well, I pursued building the product even further. Again, a single person had like just trying to manage my ends to meet. And Brigade was a very helpful as an organization towards me in getting it out. Then what happened is I got a bit of PR at that point of time, and I met an angel investor who wanted to invest at that point of time.
You got PR how? Like you were actively looking for it, or just kind of?
So it happened because of, again, I was part of the accelerator program.
Right.
And they have a lot of connects, and like I got to talking to a few people, and then they covered me.
Gotcha.
And fortunately, that actually article has become viral. Like
who covered you?
VC Circle.
VC Circle. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember it had like 4,000 shares or something on social media. So and that led me to be known amongst the investor circle there. And one of the angel investors I met decided that he wanted to invest. And Brigade Group, since they have known me for quite some time, also wanted to participate in that round.
Okay.
And we were trying to close that round and move on. And during that period, there's a tech publisher known as TechCrunch, pretty famous in the startup community.
Yeah.
They have a conference known as TechCrunch Disrupt every year in SF, their main conference. And Snaptrude was selected to be one amongst the top 3 companies in AI and ML category.
Wow.
And I was invited to go and speak over there. Just a single person company. Doesn't even have a team. They didn't know that I didn't have a team. So, but again, the merit was on the product.
Sure, of course, it's all about the product.
Yeah, so that really gave me a lot of limelights in the ecosystem of India.
You went there and presented your product?
Unfortunately, I could not. So what happened is I applied for a visa after I got selected to TechCrunch. And
for the United States?
For the United States. Unfortunately, it did not arrive on time. So it was delayed by about 2 weeks. And I had booked my tickets, I had to cancel those. You can't do anything about this, right?
No, you can't.
So you just have to bear it.
Okay.
So,
but still, you got visibility because
exactly.
They would have put you on they publicized the list of people that were going to be attending?
Yeah, so we're still there. Like you can just still Google Snaptrude and we'll show up in the TechCrunch list.
We'll put that in the description.
Sure, great. So during that time, since I got visibility, the angel investor who was already investing, he got another architect also to participate in that round. And he said, since you're a product company, I don't know if I or Brigade would be able to help you so much. So maybe you need to talk to people who have done products or who have experience in that. And he said, I have a friend at Accel. Let me connect you to him.
Accel?
Yeah, so maybe they might invest, they might not. Just go and talk to them. Like TechCrunch also helped because you are a TechCrunch company.
Sure.
And when I came and talked to Accel, Prashant over here, he was very impressed. And fast forward, they decided to invest. And
that's incredible.
We raised a seed round, if that's what you call it. And December 2017 is when we closed the round. Accel, Brigade, and a few other angel investors participated and hired the first engineer who was actually an intern. So when I first started the organization, I hired a few interns and I got those people back. Now.
Okay.
So December, the first person joined. They were doing jobs and like they were so happy to quit and come back and join me. Like with just saying that I'm working this thing out, it's like we want to join. So they resigned and one person came in December, one person came in January, and then started building the team together. Now we are a team of 11 people.
Okay.
So that's how we have built the organization.
Working out of
the Accel Launchpad, and we raised another round very recently, 2.5 months ago. Again, all of the existing investors participated and led by Accel partners.
Gotcha.
So that's how our journey has been.
Sure.
Now the concentration is all towards our beta users as we are out in beta, getting the product to become much more stable, concentrating on it delivering as much value as possible. People are still amazed to see it magically converting their rough ideas, because sketches are just rough ideas, into full detailed 3D designs.
Exactly.
And just to briefly explain how the product, what it does is it takes that hand-drawn sketch, which is very crude, not just develops a 3D model, it can actually generate your construction drawing quality level construction drawings, and it can also tell you how much it's going to cost in terms of materials, how much brick is going to be needed, how much concrete needs to be poured in, and also will give you what's the area going to look like, how much built up area is there, how much carpet area is there, and all of this you can actually take a printout and make your construction drawings ready out of it. So it's that accurate also. It's not a gimmick, it'll generate accurate drawings out of it.
And this is something that nobody's seen before. Right?
Yeah,
nobody. This is totally revolutionary.
Yeah, it's a disruption.
Yeah.
So we are working.
I guess that's why Brigade and Accel, they thought it was a great idea because it's disruptive, it's innovative,
exactly.
It's going to help a lot of people, I'm sure.
Exactly. So easily the tool saves weeks to months worth of man hours worth of effort which these design teams put together. So it's easily 10 to 15x faster than their existing technology or tools which they use, and that's a value which anybody on just looking at the demo understands and starts using
instantly. Hey,
yeah,
if they're an architect, they watch the demo and they're just like, I'm sold.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to speak. So there's a very good thing, a picture says 1,000 words is equivalent to 1,000 words. A demo is priceless. Equivalent to 1,000 pictures.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a SaaS product.
It's a SaaS product. So since we are on the cloud, it's a web app. You can use it across all your devices, and comes with an annual subscription tag.
Wow, sounds amazing. If I was an architect, I'd probably go check it out right now. And you can check it out at
Snaptrude.com.
Snaptrude.com. And I'm going to be providing the link to that website in the description. I'll be providing the link to that TechCrunch. Was it an article or a list?
It was a list.
A list, right. Okay, I'll be providing the link to that list down below, as well as Altaf's, LinkedIn, any relevant social media. So you guys can check all of that out in the description. And if you know of anybody that you think would be inspired by this story, maybe a budding entrepreneur, a first-time entrepreneur that you think needs to hear this story, would love it if you could share it with them. And also if you have any questions for Altaf about his journey or about his company, then just leave those down below and he'll be getting back to you at some point if there's a couple of good, insightful comments. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, on the first, the first interview where we're doing a face-to-face thing. It's been interesting for me. If you want to see more videos like this, leave that down below in the comments. Tell me that you enjoyed this, and we will keep making videos like this. All right, there we go.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Perfect. I guess I'll fade to black there.